Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and then immediately take them apart because this is not what you thought it was. It is instead the Black Tower podcast, which makes this incredibly awkward because you clicked on our stuff. So you should have expected it to be us. But welcome to another fantastic episode of the Black Tower podcast, a Wheel of Time podcast. I am your Bajan Mahale Andrew.
I am your Amin Khan Mahale Daniel, and we are joined in spirit for the moment and hopefully in person in a bit by our Soravan Mahale Josh.
Yes, our lovely Soravan Mahale was tasked with some very clan critical duties by his roof mistress, and as any good person is doing is taking care of that, but is hurrying his way back. Unfortunately, the task left him too tired to gateway, so it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Also, today is Androl's day to be on Do Not Disturb with Pavara, so yeah, we can't really fast track a gateway there. But
yeah, that's not happening.
It is what it is.
When the gateways are rocking, don't come a knocking.
I think the last time a gateway started to rock, it wound up doing something that wasn't good for everybody that I'm not going to say because we haven't done spoiler warning yet.
Yep.
But before we get into that, it's been a while since we kind of did this live in the episode. Daniel, how are things going for you? I know everybody, as far as I know, because I wasn't here last week, which is semi-irrelevant now. I just joined the multitudes of people that didn't get to hear what I'm sure was an amazing episode.
It was. It's so bullshit. Yeah. All right, guys. So update on that. I am really sorry. All of you who are patrons who are actually listening to this right now, many of you might have actually been able to experience when we had the gentleman behind the Dane Bornhald Twitter account on our episode last week. Unfortunately, just a little technical for you because it's fun and because it makes me sound a little less stupid. If you're doing something on a phone rather than a computer, it won't allow you to go ahead and do your audio in two different apps. So you can either do Discord or you can do Zoom, but you can't do both. Whereas on a computer, you can do as many audios as you want. Effectively. I mean, until your CPU explodes. But you can basically just put out as many audios as you want. But as I said, on a phone, you cannot. And so the Josh, not our Josh, but Josh, who is also Dane, was only able to do it on a phone, which was totally respectable and totally fine. But it meant that we could not do recording in Zoom and also live recording audio in Discord. So I had the brilliant idea that we would just do it on Discord, and that I would record it with Streamlabs. But I'm a dumbass. And so I didn't set up audio correctly. So if you watch the episode that's totally recorded, you only hear 1/3 of the conversation. Or let's be honest, maybe 45% of the conversation because I'm loud and obnoxious. But
probably closer to 55.
It's still not enough for an entire episode, and you do completely lose out on the guest that we had on, as well as our Soravan Mahale. And so
it's like the shittiest version of Mad Libs.
It really is. So unfortunately, we are doing our best to go ahead and reschedule, and hopefully it will actually be an even better episode because hopefully we can get Child Bayar on this time because he was feeling under the weather last week, so he couldn't join us. And hopefully we'll get Andrew on as well, because unfortunately he couldn't make it last week either. So hopefully it'll be a super studded episode on whenever we can actually schedule it to get done. But as for last week's episode, if you were a patron, you actually had the opportunity to hear it live, and you are the only ones who actually got to hear it because it is gone forever. Because as
I don't even know what was on it.
2/3 of the episode are silent. So
did you know that the Black Tower podcast has its very own website? No? Well, then make sure you head on over to www.blacktowerpod.com for even more Black Tower Podcast tainty goodness. On our site, you can find all of our social media links conveniently located towards the bottom left. If you're on a computer, there are links to the Facebook page, our Twitter, our YouTube, and our Instagram. So you can keep up to date with us by finding all of our social media there. Also on our website, you can find a link to the forums that we have, where we have all kinds of discussions, and as Morshadi has done plenty of times, run naked through the forums. No worries, there's no pictures. We turned off the cameras for that. You can find links to Black Tower Podcast merch, both on new creations by Jen and from Spreadshirt, where you can find any of our designs that we've ever put out, and you can go and get yourself whatever kind of merchandise you want, be it shirts, glasses, aprons for cooking, bags, hats, buttons, anything that you want, you can find in between the two merch shops that we have. The website also has a very quick and accessible link for our Discord, where you can come and join all of the fantastic tainty discussions that we have in our Discord server. We do have sections for spoiler and non-spoiler content, so you can come and enjoy something for you if you have finished a series, or something for you if you haven't finished a series. Another key feature is our Dragonsworn on demand section, where you can automatically see the most recent 5 videos from our YouTube that will play on an automatic playlist for you on the website, a quick button to get to our YouTube there as well, and you can just listen to the most recent 5 episodes that we have posted on Podbean. If you're curious about events and things we have coming up, we also have the Black Tower calendar, where you can go and look and see when we generally do our live Patreon recordings, when our episodes go live, and any events and things that we have coming up that we can put on the calendar. A quick link to our Patreon, where you can join and get access to all kinds of different content, including pre-recordings, and depending on the tier, early access to episodes, shout outs, all that kind of fun stuff. And of course, we will update the Patreon whenever we do have the updates ready to go live. We are still working on that. That is coming as of right now. Make sure you head on over to our website, where you can literally get access to anything that we have and we put out. So like Daniel said, I was out last week. I went to work and was at work about 3 hours Wednesday, and I had to go home because I started feeling ill. And I didn't start feeling remotely better until like Saturday, Sunday. And because I am a very task oriented and professional, and definitely not a procrastinator, that was super fucking tired Monday, I didn't start going to edit until Monday. So I didn't realize until Monday. So yeah, had I done what I could have done and looked at it earlier, we might have been able to do something over the weekend, but things are what they are. Welcome to the tower, where madness reigns and chaos ensues. So, but last time,
a giant helping of taint, and therefore the episode is gone.
Yeah, but last time I saw you, Daniel, you still had goatee. That is now
Correct.
quite obviously gone. I'm assuming that has something to do with what you were doing earlier today. All right. Sorry to interrupt whatever you may be watching or listening to, whatever topic we're covering right now, but we absolutely have to take a moment to talk about and thank our friend Josh's better half and the longtime sponsor and supporter of the Black Tower podcast. Of course, this is the Crystal Barista. Whether you seek crystals and minerals and the like for their cleansing, healing, and positive vibes, or you just enjoy them and think they look pretty neat, you can find anything you could possibly want with crystals and minerals here at crystalbarista.com. With everything from individual pieces that can be ordered to monthly subscription boxes, there is something here for absolutely everyone, for every occasion, for whatever you could possibly want. There's no way you can't find something that you would like in her store. On the website crystalbarista.com, you can browse by different categories, including the subscription boxes, minerals and fossils, crystal healing, stone jewelry, all the way to just the raw slabs of whatever may be being sold. And if you're more budget conscious and you want to look at anything that is limited by price, you can look for anything that is from $0 to almost $25, $25 to $50, and then anything that may be over $50. Now, if you are a rock hound and you want to get some really good tools to help you in your hounding, the Crystal Barista provides those as well. And you can find those on the same website. It's a very user-friendly website. You can find absolutely anything you need for your rock hounding, mineral, crystal, fossil needs. Now, going through the website, you can also find links to the Crystal Barista's Twitter, the Crystal Barista's Facebook, as well as the Crystal Barista's Instagram, and a couple other things. Make sure you go and follow the Crystal Barista on Twitter at rockpick, ROCKPICK, to get updates as they come out and to be up to date on what exactly is going on with the Crystal Barista. She does like to throw up things on Twitter that may be available for you to get at slightly cheaper prices, but more commonly you can find that over on the Crystal Barista Facebook. So again, same name on Facebook, ROCKPICK, and you'll be looking for the page that says Crystal Barista, formerly Rockpick Legend Company. Facebook is a good place for updates for the Crystal Barista. And if you just like to look at pictures and kind of see everything that's going on mixed in with some updates, hit up the Crystal Barista on Instagram. You can find her at the Crystal Barista. Again, that's barista with one R, BARISTA, which I think is the only way to spell it. But we all know how much trouble I have with spelling. So make sure you go over and check out what the Crystal Barista has to offer, and tell her that the Black Tower podcast sent you.
Yes and no. Actually, not at all for today. With gum in your mouth? Yes, that's what happened.
Okay.
It got all over everything. I had to shave it off. It was bad. For those of you who know and live in America and are all, whatever, the country is opening back up and I have my vaccinations. So I went to go get a job so that I wasn't bored all the time, because I was actually getting pretty bored. I know, to those of you who actually have jobs that you don't like and don't want to be in, you're like, fuck you. If I could not have a job, I would totally not have a job right now. But I am super bored, and so I went back to get a job at a restaurant, and unfortunately the one that I chose, or sorry, that's not true. I sent out all of the applications on the same day, but the one that called me back first and offered me a job first requires clean-shaven face. So I chopped it all off on Thursday for orientation.
Yeah, if I had to do that and they were like, yeah, you can't have facial hair, I'd be like, how well can I live in a cardboard box?
Yep.
And the answer may surprise you.
Well, so interestingly, so that was at a place of a Taiwanese place called Din Tai Fung, which actually has a number of chains across the world. So you may actually be familiar with it. But as I said, they offered me the job first, and then I went to orientation, so I needed to be clean-shaven for orientation. But just yesterday, I actually got a call back from the Cheesecake Factory, which I would rather work at because, A, it has better food, because I'm a meat and potatoes guy. Not better food in general. If you like, Taiwanese food, Din Tai Fung is like upper echelon. But I am a meat and potatoes and cheesecake guy, and therefore
I needed to have, I know I couldn't play it because DMCA and YouTube and everything, but I needed to have the whore by In This Moment queued up, because I am a whore for cheesecake, and if you work for a Cheesecake Factory, I can be your whore.
Right? Dude, I'm super excited. I had an interview today. I have another interview tomorrow. If I get the job, I will be working there rather than Din Tai Fung. And the other thing is, again, the uniform's nicer, and also they actually do allow facial hair at Cheesecake Factory. So I'll probably have it back sooner rather than later, as long as I get the job. But I don't see any problems with me getting the job. So hopefully I'll be beard bro again.
Yeah. Well, as for my job,
what's going on?
Tomorrow marks the last day of the contract being under who is now Peraton, used to be Perspecta, It is on the 1st of July, transitioning to the new company that won the contract, Leidos or Lidos, however you want to say it.
Sure.
And whenever we found out Leidos was taking over, they basically told us they were keeping everybody and everything would be fine. But in reality, there were some. So I'm a subcontractor. I'm not directly employed by Leidos. I'm employed by Apex Systems Incorporated, and that's how a lot of these contract jobs go. Is you have the parent company that is in charge of the contract, and they have other companies like staffing agencies, basically, that staff their positions as part of the contract. So we have 6 FSTs, field service technicians, where I work. When I got there, or for the last several months, there's been 2 that are prime contract, meaning they work directly for Perspective/Peraton. And then we had 4 of us that were subcontractors. Only one of those under prime contract got kept under prime contract. The other one is having to go to subcontracting at a $2 an hour pay decrease, which he would have turned down, except for his wife doesn't want to leave the area. She likes their house. And he's retired Army, so it's debatable how much that really affects his livability and that kind of stuff. Sure. Had another guy or 2 other guys, their subcontracting companies weren't picked up to work with Leidos, and one of them got an offer that was $2 less, which meant $5,000 less a year, which was not acceptable for him. But he's still going to be working on base for another section that will now pay him $13,000 more a year. So congrats to him. And the other guy would have still made the same amount of money, but then his contract, they included a no competition clause, which would mean that he could not work in the same, if he left working with them, he could not work in the same field or for a competing company for at least 6 months. And he said, fuck that.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. And we have another guy that rumor is that he'll be around at least until the end of this week, if not next week. But tomorrow may be his last day currently, but either way, he's leaving on the 10th because his wife is still active duty military and is PCSing to your coast, to the West Coast. So he will no longer be there. And the older gentleman,
you're going to be short-staffed as fuck.
Oh, it gets better because the older gentleman, whose wife is essentially making him stay in the area, started his vacation on the 28th and won't be back until the 14th. And I leave on the 15th for JordanCon. So there's a good chance that there's a good chance that starting July 1st, at least until the following Tuesday, there will only be 2 of us in the office to handle IT support for over 1,500 contractor and Marine Corps personnel.
Christ, I am so sorry to hear that. That is, I laugh only because I don't want to cry. That's insane.
Yeah, a little bit of a pain. So that's what's going on there. But, job security and whatnot, I suppose.
I mean, in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, today, when I came into work, I had a total of 9 or 10 tickets. And by the time I left, I only had 4 or 5, and that's including 2 new ones that came in. So wasn't a bad day. I mean, it helps. Great. It helps whenever I get 3 computers finished and 2 of them leave the office and I fix 2 or 3 printers or tell people they need to order new printers or whatever. But yeah, so I at least every once in a while, I like for us to be able to take a second and kind of beyond our normal bullshitting before the recording that patrons get to hear and all that kind of stuff. Maybe some people are interested in where things are going. Maybe some other people are like, shut the fuck up. Can you just get to the episode because we don't care about your lives, which is fine.
Which is why we don't do it that often.
It's easier for you to skip all of that whenever I actually have the time to sit down and dedicate to adding the chapters to the YouTube video. I can't really do anything about that on the podcast itself. So, but we're all tech savvy enough to know to skip forward enough. Upside, I'm back to having 3 monitors for the setup now, so that's why the camera angle is a little different and slanted. And you might see me turning just like this. That's how I have to turn to look straight at one monitor. But yeah, fun stuff. But
I'm still on 1 monitor.
Well,
though technically I could have 2, because I could go ahead and use my television as an additional monitor, but that would then take up 70% of the wall on one side.
Go fuck yourself.
Fun fact, I actually got an email about a new game show that they're casting for that I'm not eligible for. They actually sent it along so that I could send it to my friends. So I can forward you an email about it, you and Josh. But I'm not technically allowed to be on it because they want fresh faces.
If it's a quiz show like The Weakest Link,
it's trivia. Yeah.
I would be out like round 1, maybe 2. Like I might get the veterans discount of a free round, and that's about it. So, which I finally got my VA ID, so I can now go to in-network places without getting like pre-authorization or having to like give them my social and then look it up. I can just show them the ID. Yeah. And I believe Excellent. It also allows me to buy alcohol on bases, because until now all I had was a contractor ID. So fun stuff. Anyway.
Wait, does that mean that you can buy stuff on the base near Ogden? And we don't have to deal with the Mormons anymore?
I mean, that actually is curious. I wonder
what the rules are. I have no idea.
I'd imagine they can have whatever they want because there's no like state jurisdiction on a military base.
Presumably.
Fun fact, so let's say that you're in a U.S. military base and you're within 50 miles of the Canadian border where the legal drinking age is lower than 21, the base commander can actually authorize on base people that the same age as the lower age to consume alcohol on base. It's to deter people from trying to drive 50 miles to cross a border or go somewhere else to drink. So
makes
fun
sense.
fact. So if you live somewhere...
Also fun fact... if you have to go ahead and become a police officer on the disputed border between the U.S. and Canada,
does it entitle you to a movie?
Pretend to be a mount. Yes, you're entitled.
I know exactly where you were going.
And it'll be super dumb, but it will entertain you and your friends for an hour and a half. Or however long it actually is.
It's a good movie.
Because it was not actually a good movie, but it was very entertaining.
You know what the fuck I meant. Good from the perspective of enjoyability. No, it's not winning any Oscars for like...
No, I was just re-clarifying what you said. I was not disagreeing.
No clarification needed.
But we technically have an episode that we're supposed to do, huh?
Oh, yeah. So, as one of our patrons chose before we started the episode, DK Moon chose number 1 out of possible 5 for spoiler warnings. So we're going to go ahead and play the spoiler warning here.
Also, and before we do that, can I just say how amazing and super awesome it is that we have 5 spoiler warnings? I am blown away. Like, I expected us to just have 2 for a really long time, and we're already up to 5, and that's because of you guys, and that's fucking amazing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and all of our patrons have the ability to record a spoiler warning for us, so all of you can do it. If you haven't done it and you want to do it, go for it. It is at your pace, your leisure. And just let us know if you want music included with it, but you don't have any music to put with it or whatever. Just when you send it to us, let us know, and I will try to find some music. We did that with the Registered Nerd. Or you can put your own.
It sounds phenomenal.
Yeah. Or you can put your own music to it and look up a bunch of random side effects, like the one you're going to hear in this week's Spoiler Condom. Here you go.
Welcome to the Black Tower. This is your spoiler condom. If you have not read the complete works of Robert Jordan, The Wheel of Time, books 1 to 14, and also New Spring, Big Bad Book of White Art, and the companion, you are at risk of being spoiled. Spoilers come with side effects. These side effects may include headache, nausea, vomiting, death, dizziness, vaginal or penile eruptions and ejaculations, dysentery, cardiac arrhythmia, mild heart explosions, varicose veins, darkened stool, darkened souls, more vomiting, arthritis, hemorrhoids or diabetes, virginity, mild discomfort, vampirism or werewolfism, gender inequality for the whole planet, spontaneous dental hydroplosion, sugar highs, even more vomiting, or maybe just a mild rash. If you cannot deal with these side effects, please leave now, for fear of spoilers. You have been warned.
So the Wheel of Time. So yes, thank you as always, Malkir Talks, Rob from Malkir Talks, for that fantastic spoiler warning that eventually will correct the error.
I did shoot him a message, but I do apologize to any and everyone. If you missed it, Malkiri Con was this past weekend. It was a blast.
As you're hearing this, it was 2 weekends ago. It was on the 27th.
Oh, yes.
Is when the celebration
That
was.
is correct. Yes. So 2 weekends ago, I actually watched a good deal of it after waking up way too late to be on the section I was supposed to be on.
See, at least yours was like your body saying, I need rest. Like,
yeah.
Like Josh's, his just... We thought we got rid of this issue whenever his Scarlett Johansson soundboard broke and wasn't working anymore, but apparently not. And his audio did a kerfuffle.
Yeah, but it happens. And again, that is not an excuse. It is an explanation. I feel like a piece of shit, and I am a piece of shit for missing it.
Shut up.
So again, Rob, if you were listening or when you listen or whatever, it was a blast. So I'm really glad that it seems like you had a good time. You had a lot of great people, including this guy over here. I'm sorry I missed it, and we will catch you for the next one for your 2-year anniversary, right?
Of course, we'll talk to him before then.
Whatever.
Yeah, no. The next one will be 2 year, and if nothing else was a good enough reason, it is a good reason for me to go ahead and get a civilian passport, because I never worried about one because I had a government passport, which I couldn't freely use anyway. So whatever.
Yeah. Well,
just never had one because I never needed one.
Again, I think that we decided that we're going to the honorary Black Tower members after we go to the actual Black Tower members. So we went to Los Angeles first year, Ogden second year, we're going to North Carolina third year, fourth year we're going to Rob's, and then fifth year we're going to Andrel's. So we've already got the next few set up, right?
So patrons, if you have friends that may or may not like the Wheel of Time, but have spare cash that they have nothing better to do with and want to support us on Patreon to support 3 people doing back-to-back, once at least a year, international travel, go for it. Which one of our patrons is already doing their part on that front. And love you. So, because this episode will be coming out after the 1st of July, we're going to go ahead and do a shout out for our newest patron, who has a unique link to our already patrons, a good friend of our unofficial fact checker. This is Tiana, brand new patron, one of our soldiers. Welcome to the Black Tower, and thank you so much for your patronage and support. Tiana.
Still.
I even asked him how to say it, and I still fucked it up. Tiana. There, that's like 3.5 shout outs.
Havara.
Look, we all know I can't pronounce like English. Anything that's not like the most like blatant down south English, we all know I'm gonna fuck it up. So but thank you.
What?
Thank you so much and welcome.
What?
So hopefully Josh will be joining us here shortly, as we've said before. But what are we talking about today, Daniel? What did we decide we were going to attempt to sound somewhat educated on about the Wheel of Time?
So today's topic is basically madness. The book series talks about madness in a number of different lights for a number of different reasons and in a number of different cases. The most apt and sort of proliferated, biggest, whatever you want to call it, situation is the Taint. The Dark One was able to touch the male half of the One Power during the fight that he had with Lews Therin, and therefore there is a taint, there is a madness, there is a crazy, if you will, that has latched itself onto the male half of the One Power, saidin. But it is not the only instance of madness in the book series. And of course, even within that one most prolific madness category, if you will, there are even a number of different manifestations as we see throughout the book series. Because I mean, I'm sure that two men do go crazy the same way. Like, I don't think that it's literally unique for every single male channeler, but we do see a number of different variations and a number of different Ashaman as well as non-Ashaman in the book series. And so today we wanted to talk a little bit about madness's representation in the book series, whether that be for channeling, whether that be for whether that be for other reasons, and just take a look at what madness is and what sort of crazy is in the Wheel of Time.
Yeah. So, of course, let's start with the one nearest and dearest to our hearts, but hopefully furthest from our actual minds. So, I've woken up to myself talking to myself, so really weird out-of-body experience. But so with the first letter, it's going to be the madness that most of us probably think about when we talk about the Wheel of Time and madness. It's going to be the Taint-Induced Madness, or madness of the taint, which is what happens whenever you get severe swamp ass and it just itches and it's just impolite to scratch it at work or, at the family funeral. But yeah.
He's right,
Yeah. So he's out of line, but he's right.
Such a good fucking line.
Yeah. So Taint-Induced Madness is, of course, taint. Madness that is induced by the taint that the Dark One placed on the male half of the One Power, saidin, that initiated essentially the breaking of the world. Yes. This would have been like pretty much right at / after the end of the Age of Legends, propelling us into the Third Age. As y'all know, the 100 Companions and Lews Therin went. It was only male channelers that went to seal the bore on the Dark One's prison.
Second age.
That's what I said. So the end of the Second Age leading us into the Third Age.
No, end of the First Age leading us into the Second.
End of the First Age was our age. So the Second Age was the Age of Legends. So this ended the Age of Legends and brought about the breaking of the world and brought us into the Third Age.
God damn. Andrew, stop being right. You're not allowed to do that.
That is my one. That is my one for like this month and next month.
No, you get plenty of them. You're actually way better at this than you give yourself credit for. But yeah, no, I'm just fucked, Mortati. You're right. I can't record. I can't fact check. I can barely even speak English. I don't know what the fuck's going on today.
But well, at least you're not the one that asked how to pronounce somebody's name and then still fucked it up while looking at how you were told to pronounce it. Anyway, so Lews Therin and the 100 Companions, all male Aes Sedai, went and attempted to seal the bore on the Dark One's prison. They were
No, they
quasi-successful.
intended to kill the Dark One, and they actually created the boar.
Did they intend to kill the Dark One?
Yes. That one I'm like 99.9% sure of.
Either way, they did something against the Dark One that the Dark One didn't like, and it's kind of like what was the perk called in Call of Duty? Martyr, where instead of dying, you went down and you could still shoot. As his martyr perk, the Dark One laid a thick, oily taint on Sidene. All of the 100 companions and loose Therans went completely 100% madly insane at that instant.
Shit, fucking crazy.
Yeah, and then any males that channeled after that would progressively grow insane as the effect of the taint came upon them.
Yes.
Double giggity. So that is when we talk about madness in the Wheel of Time, like that's typically what we think of.
That is not proper lotion use. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Nynaeve, who of course by the end of the series has discovered a way to at least mitigate, if not completely heal, Taint-Induced Madness, describes it as spidery threads of black stabbing into the brain of a man who is tainted, and it creates a network of darkness around the brain. It honestly just sounds like, you know how Rand learns how to set weaves? Sorry, there was a jet taking off from the base, and all I heard was a massive roar as I talked about Taint and Dark One, and I was like,
oh no, it's my time. Fuck!
But how he learns to like basically set traps and like basically create a time delay spell of sorts.
Yeah, and it's these like nets of weaves and threads that he just sort of sets over things.
Yeah. By the
or
end
the
of
way
the
it's
series,
described that Samael has laid things over the city of Ilion when they go to attack that as well. Yeah.
So it seems like by the end of the series, that is kind of the interpretation that we're given of what the taint was. Obviously, after the end of Winter's Heart, the taint on Sidene is no more, thanks to, again, Nynaeve and Rand, and a myriad of other characters that defend them from the shadow and help them destroy Shadow.
They do the physical act, but they would have been fucked if it hadn't been for their defenders.
Not in the good way, my friends.
And not in the good way.
But so over time, the Taint-Induced Madness results in basically the same type of symptoms as schizophrenia, hallucinations, paranoia. There's a myriad of effects. There's is it Fedwin Fedwin Moore that gets reduced to the mental age of a child? Mm-hmm. So that happens. He gets reduced to like mentally he's like 10 years old or younger. And
very
that's like
young child.
Yeah, that's like the most infamous vision we see, like written in words for us to read and imagine. And I imagine I hope it's. Sounds so bad to say I hope it's included in the TV show, but I hope it is.
I do. I actually think that that's going to be a very powerful scene. Not because I want to see someone reduced to, the mind of a child, but because I think it's very important and powerful as far as like some of these characters have not really experienced madness in their own lives. Even though one of them is consistently experiencing madness, he just doesn't know it yet. But yeah, no, I think it's actually a scene that is important for the television show, because it's, for me, I think it was actually the first time that I realized just how bad it was, because they talk about it very ethereally in the series up until that point, and mostly you just think that, oh, okay, well, I mean, I'm sure that it comes on slow, but it's basically the only problem that's caused is you go from, normal everyday like dealing with it human to killing everyone around you and blowing shit up, is kind of like the way that they make it sound like in the books up until that point, because no one's ever really seen a man go mad.
Yeah, for a
Nobody
lot of the
actually
books,
understands what it takes or what it looks like. They just go, okay, at some point you snap and you
Yeah.
go crazy and you kill people.
Yeah,
So
and
we need to put you down before that happens.
for a lot of the books, it kind of seems like it's time based, but
Yeah,
we hit a point where we realized like no, it's use based. It's kind of like meth, is how quickly you lose your teeth and ultimately you will die from it is directly correlated to how frequently and drastically you use meth. Same thing with the one power.
basically.
The more that males channeled Sidene prior to the end of Winter's Heart, the quicker and more madness they would accrue. This was blamed for the Shiva's apparent just kind of nuttiness, his aloofness. We all know,
Which we all know is actually because he's a fucking Forsaken. But
well, it's all a facade to make him seem mad, so that anything he does that may be suspicious is attributed to the madness rather than, I don't know, one of Satan's disciples incarnate.
right.
But we see.
Which can we just take a second? I'm totally okay if we end up doing like a background breakdown on Deshiva or something like that.
Oh, it's gonna happen,
right? But also, I just love that characterization of what the Force like that is the greatest costume, in my humble opinion. Like,
I
add
loved
Mascaneers,
Deshiva forever.
it's so good. He's so good. I don't know.
Up until
we don't
the
actually
last
need
minute.
to talk to it about.
Yeah, up
like,
until the
about
last
him.
minute, I was like, Deshiva is such a great guy. It's so sad that he's mad. And then it's like,
Right?
oh no,
Oh fuck,
he's a clever
not.
dick.
He's a clever dick.
And I
There we
don't
go.
mean
That's
a
perfect.
very skilled private eye from like the fucking 40s and 50s.
No, he's a really intelligent douchebag.
Yeah. So notable cases beyond Luz, beyond Rand, beyond Fedwin Moore. We have Evan Vincova, who was an Ashaman that was turned to the shadow. That he was convinced ultimately by Andral that people thought that his position was compromised. And I don't think it wasn't Andral necessarily saying, no, your position is compromised. No, this is going on. It was madness induced in his way of interpreting things that maybe Andral said.
It was basically straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, and he lashed out at Abors, who was a fellow follower of the Shadow in his madness and was dealt with by Taim. Then you have Naif, who was a former member of the Andoran Queen's Guards, and he was a very loyal soldier, but after channeling for so long and being exposed to the taint, believed that in every shadow there was a Murdral. And you can't have a guy running around hurling fireballs at every shadow in existence.
Well, especially when they're actually
appreciate your fervor,
shadows,
but,
like fuck.
Yeah. I appreciate your fervor, but you're kind of fucking things up for the rest of us. But this is a madness that has I'm going to say a tangible cause. Like we can look at, by the end of the series, we can look at and see what caused it. It was something that could have been, that was addressed, seen, dealt with, removed, and we know the actor that caused it. It's one of the things that we know what causes it, and by the end of the series, we know a way to treat it and fix it. So it's like knowing somebody's addicted to some kind of narcotic or substance and knowing how to deal with it. Somebody's ODing on heroin, administer Narcan, and watch them become incredibly pissed. But yeah, so that's what we think about most of the time. We talk about madness or insanity within the Wheel of Time.
And of course, it is interesting because there are a number of examples that we see of people who are sort of taken out before they go mad as well. It's not a lot, but it's definitely a few where you don't even actually see their madness. It's just assumed that they're going to go nuts, and then done. We see it with Logain as far as him being a false dragon who then gets captured and gentled because you can't go mad if you don't touch Sidene. So if you can't touch Sidene, problem solved, according to Aes Sedai. And I
Yeah.
mean, like most of the rest of the world. I'm not saying it's just the Aes Sedai, but still, they're the ones who actually do the gentling. As well as Owen Maryland, for example. He also is captured and gentled before he gets a chance to go mad as well, which, of course, as we all know, sort of sets Tom on this path to helping out Rand, Matt, and Perrin, much to the chagrin of a number of other people, and also much to their assistance, because Tom's a badass. But
Yeah, and that leads into another kind of madness that, since it's a good segue, we'll go ahead and talk about it now.
Yeah.
There is a sort of madness that comes from gentling and stilling.
correct.
People that are gentled and stilled lose their minds. One of the biggest critiques that we make of the Red Aja and in general the practice of gentling male channelers is the absolute abundant lack of aftercare. So we have the Taint-Induced Madness, that is this incredible insanity brought on by channeling a fair amount of Sidene while it's tainted. And then you have the opposite side of the coin, where when the ability to channel period is ripped from a channeler, it has a maddening effect. Both male and female channelers become incredibly prone to trying to think of a way to say this YouTube friendly, to play toaster bath, essentially. Because I can't think of another.
To not be in this world anymore.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a madness there too, and we're doing madness. As things that severely distract you from the normal kind of mindset of operation of humanity.
Yes.
That's not to say that everybody that has a mental illness isn't normal, stuff like that, but we're talking about within the context of the Wheel of Time. Yes. So,
and of course, we meet many characters who are out of the norm in Wheel of Time, but we would not consider them madness. We would not consider that, to be in this category. It actually has to be a particular type.
Yeah, Snakes and Foxes just put it a fantastic way. A loss of autonomy, a loss of identity, a limitation of self, crippling someone and leaving them with no help to cope.
Well, I mean, it's
that
very
last part's
similar.
more like what gentling and stilling does. But the overall effects of a lot of these madness type things that we're talking about, it is the same. Something happens and they're either completely lost as their self, or they have no way of coping with it.
Well, the way that I've always seen, stilling and gentling is so much like, I mean, again, there are absolutely people in the story who have come through it okay. Just like there are people in real life who have come through it okay, but it's like losing the ability to walk kind of deal. I mean, it's such a part of you, and you are accessing it regularly, and you're using the one power, and then all of a sudden that's just gone. And it's not even just gone like nicely. It is wrenched away from you in a way that you can still feel it, but can't actually touch it. And it's so that like I've always very much thought about it as like, okay, cool. So one day you're totally walking around, and the next day someone, not even just an accident, but like someone just takes away your ability to walk. And you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Some people would deal with that really, really okay and get inspired by it and help other people. There absolutely have been. But some people just lose all will.
Yeah.
In fact, most people in the story lose all will.
Yeah. I mean, they don't see a reason to continue on with life.
Yep.
After
and
this is gone.
So.
I mean, and look at the way that channeling both Sidene and Sidaire is described. I mean,
yeah,
Sidaire
life
is
itself
Yeah, it enhances. These both are described as enhancing everything about life. I mean, Sidene up until the end of Winter's Heart again is you have to dive through, the Deepwater Horizon accident to get to the actual worthwhile ocean. But after that, it's incredible bliss that you love. You're more aware of everything. You feel more alive than you ever have, and like we see Elaine
And
express
even
like.
when wrestling with it,
Yeah,
Rand
well, we
still
see Elaine
says,
like
like,
talk about like the despair almost that she feels when she has to release Sidair.
right?
So it's kind of one of those things like it's it's like somebody I don't know how to describe it. Like it's if you could somehow have a version of like a hard drug that
Yeah.
wasn't actually addictive but was so much fun to
Know what it
enjoy that it
is.
was that the feeling was addictive but that the drug itself wasn't. So
Sure.
like think heroin but with the qualities of like weed.
Effectively, yeah. No,
Yeah,
I think that
something that you
is
can't OD on that isn't intrinsically like hazardous to your health other than if you want to make an argument for like inhaling smoke, but
sure.
like something like
But yeah,
that.
no,
And
I
then you have
I
your
think
complete
that
total
Robert
access.
Jordan.
It's like moving from like Oregon to like a Bible Belt state where there's just no weed. You're fucked. You're not getting any. Oh, it could really ease your cancer treatment? Yeah, no, we don't care. We're not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
Which is that's slowly being worked out. Actually, North Carolina is voting on that bill for medicinal.
Nice.
Yeah,
Congrats.
yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense because Roy Cooper is the governor of North Carolina, and he's a very like Democratic governor. So
Sure.
that's more in line with kind of that stuff, which I fully support. So,
Indeed.
um,
But yeah, no, I
not
think that
because I would like to be able to smoke weed for back pain. That would be fantastic. I've seen how much it helped friends. Oh my god! Like I literally watched a friend of mine who got out because of very bad back pain. He got out of the Marine Corps. He started smoking weed medicinally, and it curbed his back pain so much that the dude is like in the second best shape of his life he's ever been.
excellent. No, that's awesome.
Like he lost like
Good for
100
him.
pounds in like a year. It was
Oh,
ridiculous.
man.
I mean, that's probably not a healthy weight loss, but the thing, the healthy weight loss is defined as like no more than 5 pounds a month. But
Something like that.
yeah,
But still, if you
which is
actually
weird
have
because you
100
think he'd get the
pounds to
munchies and eat a lot
lose,
more junk food, but he didn't.
truth.
Hmm.
He might have been taking far more like
He was
is it
happier, so he didn't stress
CBD
eat.
or is it CBD that's the one that actually helps with the pain but
So
doesn't
CBD
necessarily make
CBD
you
is more of a hemp extract rather than an actual marijuana plant, like full on marijuana plant extract.
correct.
And that's the one that is legal in most places. That is supposed to
Yes.
have more of the physical benefits without any kind of like the high or head high or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay.
But no,
That's what I
he
thought.
just went straight to full on Delta 9. So
Jesus. Nice.
versus Delta 8, which you'll still lose your job over because the drug test for the metabolites that you get from processing THC, not the THC itself. And the only difference between Delta 8 and Delta 9 is one of the bonds in the genetic strain. So
Jesus.
I know, shocking, right?
Yeah, totally shocking. I didn't just
Um,
hiccup. That
if you want to know more about weed, go and check out the Weed of Time podcast.
right there,
Fantastic folks from Canada, I believe. We haven't talked to
Yes.
them in a while. We need to talk to them again.
Indeed.
Anyway, so you have the kind of madness that results from being stilled and gentle that is predominantly categorized by a loss of will to live.
Yes.
Then you have a different sort of, and almost now, like now that we move beyond like madness and stilling and gentling, even with gentling and stilling, almost feels kind of bad to call it madness. We're just gonna say like outside of your bodily control mental conditions, I suppose. Like I don't
Sure.
know what to call it, but we have the examples of Gnome with
Yep.
being a wolf brother that goes the complete opposite direction of Perrin. whether it's because Perrin had like a mentor and a guide kind of thing, or just affects people differently. We don't know because we only get, I don't know, 3 examples. So
yeah,
because we get Perrin, who very much resists the wolf and focuses on being a person more than a wolf. We get Elias, who, at least to me, seems to be a bit 50-50, leaning a little bit more towards being a person than a wolf, but still closer to 50-50. So. And Noam, who just
like
says
51-49.
And Noam, who just looks at it and just says, "Fuck it, full wolf." I mean, we don't know the story behind it, if it was a conscious decision by Noam or not.
Yes.
It seems like becoming a wolf brother can be a very slippery slope that is very easy, because we see it happen to Perrin when it first starts in Eye of the World, where he loses himself in a blood rage. Mm-hmm. So we have that going on.
Yeah. And as I said, as you said, actually, given that we only have the 3 examples, it is, I definitely included in this list. It definitely feels like it belongs here, but also there's so little information about it. Gnome could have been the outlier. We don't actually know. Or
who you call
Perrin could be the outlier because he had Elias or something along those lines. And so that's one of the things that I would love to see, sort of.
So what you're saying,
Robert
lean
Jordan's
on me
notes
when you're not strong,
and I'll be your friend,
and I'll help you carry on and not give way to the wolf.
There we go. Because I'm hungry like the wolf. Now, all I can
think of now is Big Fat Liar. Thank you. Now I see a blue man with orange hair.
I would love to see Robert Jordan's notes as far as what he wanted to do or had in his mind as the foundation for Wolf Brothers and Wolf Sisters and whatnot. Again, this part's not possible. Sorry to bring it down for just a second, but just talk to Robert and find out his thoughts on that, because again, he only gave us 3 examples.
Tell Ron Riyadh,
and it's unfortunate. There we go. Yes. But yeah, I would love to have gotten more information about them. Obviously, again, I wouldn't, because it's not relevant to the story. I think definitely Jordan and Sanderson both did a good job of giving you the information that you needed for the story and not a whole lot more fluff. But I think it's just fascinating. And so I would have loved to know whether Gnome was the exception, Perrin was the exception. What is a sort of standard wolf brother or wolf sister experience in terms of finding out that you are actually touching the minds of wolves, and then sort of the life that you lead after that, as far as how into your life that actually becomes. I don't know. I'd love to know that information. It doesn't seem like it's actually there in the book series, but I'd fucking love it.
Yeah, I was trying to look real quick and see if I could see anything on Theoryland to answer that more quickly.
Sure.
I'm not on something that like I'm going to spend time like reading while we're recording.
Sure. Probably a good idea.
I mean, Morshadi makes a good point that Perrin, it would make sense for Perrin to be a sort of outlier with him being Ta'veren.
Correct. But I agree with that statement.
Yeah, and I mean, he also said, Elias seems to be perhaps a generic standard. And I think that's a fair point to make. I mean, we also have to remember that Elias is also a bit of an outlier himself, having been a warder and in warder training. So he's going to have some kind of enhanced training for mental fortitude working with Aes Sedai.
So in some ways,
and Gnome is just like the average villager.
Yeah, exactly. That Gnome is kind of the generic example, but again, I feel like that
Gnome
probably isn't true either.
I think Gnome is probably the mass, like civilization, mass, normal, average, everyday humans with no special training 50-50 case. That you're going to have the people that probably like Gnome did, probably like fully accepted it and wanted to use it to its fullest benefits and get everything they can from it. I mean, if you had the superpower of invisibility, you can't say you wouldn't be tempted to sneak into a bank vault or, do any number of
Right.
things with it. But there's also going to be those people that have the moral fortitude to be like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to use it to sneak into, criminal hideouts and see what they're doing and give intel to some form of trustable government that doesn't actually exist. But you
I
have
appreciate
Elias.
your stretch there, though.
Yeah, I mean, the desire is in the good place. Just the good place the desire needs to be doesn't exist.
Forking shirt balls.
Yeah. But you have Elias who has this training from the White Tower awarders for mental fortitude to resist. Like they're
just
trained.
The bond itself.
Yeah.
Like the bond itself also heightens not only his training, but his just initial sort of natural.
Yeah, but they're also going to be trained.
All of that. Yeah.
But they're also going to be trained to like try to do things to resist things like the Drakkar and compulsion and other kind of influential weaves, and they're dealing with the Aes Sedai version of Deus Damar, which is just talking. So that kind of stuff. And then, like Morshadi said, you have someone like Perrin, who is Ta'veren, who you're going to be the balance of wolf and human that the pattern needs for you to be our errand boy to do what we need to do in the in the lace of ages. What's the lace of edges? For this time and everything going on. So it's like, we have three examples that seem to indicate the three different spectrums as for humanity, but when you look closer at them, like Morshadi has either intentionally or unintentionally pointed out, I'm going to say intentionally because you're fucking smart, that there's drastic differonces between the three.
Smart.
Yeah. But this freaking huge guy.
Two theories, and neither of them involve abnormally sized men.
Yeah.
Makes me want to do a little jig.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things where this is a more relatable sort of kind of mental condition kind of thing.
Yes.
Because it can go one or the other. You have people that suffer from depression, schizophrenia, DID, a bunch of different mental disorders, anorexia, bulimia, that you have the people that give into it. I don't want to say give into it, that are consumed by it, that don't. I'm just going to say consumed by it because I'm not going to say they don't resist it, but they want to be consumed by it, and unfortunately,
at some point it becomes too hard to resist. At some point, it becomes too hard to fight for normalcy, and therefore you end up down this path of whatever you want to call it, versus people who just every day wake up and resist whatever it is that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
Regardless of the fact that it seems hopeless, regardless of the fact that sometimes it really seems like it would just be easier to fucking give in and just live that way. And again, that is no judgment on either way. It's fucking hard. I mean, I think that there are very few people in the world at this point who are actually what we would consider normal, as far as don't have any mental conditions, don't have any physical conditions, don't have, anything. And there's normalcy, but that doesn't mean that there's normal. It's just how you deal with the hand that you're given. And some people strive to be more the normal, and some people absolutely are like, this is who I am, this is what I have to deal with, I will lean into it to a certain extent and go with that. And I think that, again, Gnome is a good example of someone who has this thing. It's not normal, it's absolutely different and mental and something that they have to sort of deal with. And Gnome goes the way of, you know what? I'm leaning into this. I'm going as far as I can into what this is that I have been given. Whether you think that's positive or negative, I'm going to go run with the wolves. And I'm just going to fucking be a wolf.
So I stand corrected on us not knowing anything about Noam before he basically became fully mentally wolf. Do you remember a wolf by the name of Boundless?
Yes.
Boundless is Noam after being fully awoken into the wolf dream.
Oh shit!
And
That's awesome.
And we find out that Noam during his life dealt with a great deal of pain and suffering.
I'm not surprised.
Something that at least at the time Perrin meets Noam, he's under mental distress, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But we do learn more, and that as a wolf, Boundless was indeed more free, no longer having to live with hardships in life. So that's, again, things that are going to impact that mental fortitude, that ability to resist. You know, if the
Yes.
wolves are saying, come run with us, come be free, come away from humanity, then it's really hard not to be like sucked into it. So,
Yep.
And
And again, just want to be super clear here. Again,
it's not a criticism on anybody that like is super struggling or is succumbed to it.
exactly. Yeah.
We're talking
There
like
we
all
go.
of this is within the scope
The
of the
bounds
Wheel of
the
Time.
thing. Yeah. And in fact, I mean, like in some ways, you have to admit that if that's true, which I'm not saying it's not, I just haven't read it yet. Boundless seems like he's a lot fucking happier than Gnome was. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I don't know that for sure, but
So yeah. So into the fourth and last scope of madness that technically the third, because I threw the fourth one in there as the second one, but now we're going to move to the fourth one after the third one, which is now the last one, and talk about an equally terrifying but singular example of madness that we see within our favorite creepy motherfucker with a dagger, the Wheel of Time's own version of Golem, who instead of being focused on a ring is focused on three boys and ultimately mainly two, because you never see him directly like necessarily fixate on Matt, but he fixates on Rand for the longest, and then whenever Rand's not around, fixates on Perrin for the longest.
though
except
he
for like the
does
first part where he
fixate
fixates
on
on all
Matt's
three.
dagger
That's
a
true.
lot. So I mean, again, it's not Matt. I actually agree with your statement.
For one book,
totally
he focuses
agree with
on Matt's extra shiny sharp thing that he tries to keep hidden in his pants.
Well, he has it for the rest of the books.
Oh yeah, but
they only get it
Matt
back long enough to go ahead and remove Matt's fucked upness from it, or remove Matt's fucked upness from Matt, and basically put it back in the dagger. Then put it in a lead box and put it in, basically, magic item prison. And then Padan Fane goes there and he's like, my magic item, motherfuckers, and then just uses it for the rest of the series.
Yeah, which that's all interesting. So let's a brief overview of how how Padan Fane became who Padan Fane is by the time we see him at the end of the series. Padan Fane became a Dark Friend in his 20s, seeking immortality, and frequently got called to Shao-Ghul, was forced into frequent face-to-faces as close as you can with the Dark One himself, and became the Dark One's hound with the sole purpose of seeking out the Dragon Reborn. He journeyed to Shao-Ghul and met Baalzamon, who was the one that gave him the dark powers to allow him to aid him in his hunt.
Which we all know at this point was Ishamael.
Yeah, so this was in 996 NE. In 997, he goes back to Shao-Ghul, and his mind was distilled of his findings. So basically, the Dark One took all of his findings out and basically cleaned his slate so that he could resume it from fresh. 998, he was given a special ability to track the one he was seeking. Yeah. And this is what led him to be in Amon's Field right before Winter Night happens. And basically, he's like the beacons of Gondor for the Shadow to attack Amon's Field. After after the attack fails to capture or kill any of the three boys, but definitely because it didn't get all of them, he is forced to travel with the Murdron Trollocs, goes into Shadow Logoth, and is then trapped and semi-possessed by Mordeth. But because he's already been touched by the Dark One, it's actually more of a melding of Mordeth and Padden Fane. So Mordeth merges with him but cannot overtake him. And this results in the first iteration of what you could consider like a maverick or kind of a bit of a rogue from just a pure servant of the shadow. This is more of a self-serving kind of evil because Mordeth hates the shadow as well. Mordeth just hates everything.
Yep.
And this is
Mordeth hated it so much he basically became it. Wait, fire with fire. It's a terrible way of fighting fires.
Yeah. This creates a very unique type of evil, something that is so evil that whenever Fane is caught by Mashin Shen in the ways, it actually perverts and alters Mashin Shen. He defeats Mashin Shen just by being who he is at this point, which again definitely affects him and alters him further, leading into probably what we see more as Ordith.
Yes.
Which is, of course, the nasty, terrible kind of white cloaky guy that that is Ordith, isn't it? Yes.
Yes. Ordith.
Ordith.
Yeah.
Whatever. Basically means wormwood.
I've always pronounced it as
Ordith. It's Ordith.
Is it
according
Ordith?
to
Cool.
what.fandom.com.
Excellent.
That's what we're gonna go with. So you see everything he does there. He then changes his name to Geralt Mordeth, and that's where he sought out Torum Raitin, leader of the Kyrian rebellion against Rand. We see everything that happens there. He appears on the battlefield of Thakandar, calling himself Shiasm, and that's where he's like at his most prolific control of the tendrils of Mashadar, which of course he gained power to use after merging with Mordeth. So
it's like
his most powerful, but his most lame because This is where I disagree with the wiki. Wiki says that Matt kills him. I don't think he dies.
I also don't think he dies.
He's stabbed with a dagger that is already the taint of Shatter Logoth. And the main thing of the dagger is, it taints you with Shatter Logoth. So you're being tainted with yourself. It feels like it should have the same effect on Mordeth or Fane or whoever you want to call him by this point as causing necrotic damage to the undead in D&D.
Yeah.
Which doesn't hurt them, heals them.
But yeah.
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 So, more trying to point out, you could see him cutting himself with it all the time. He was like licking the blade and all kinds of creepy, super mega emo goth shit from 2007.
The poison on this blade will kill you in seconds.
Lick.
I should not have done that.
Welcome to the afterlife. I'm death, you're dead. Let's get the paperwork started.
But yeah, no, honestly, I mean, those three entities, basically going to Sheol Ghul and becoming a Hound of the Dark One, who knows exactly how? I mean, what power was actually given, what dark, things were bestowed, if you will.
I'll tell you later.
And then, of course, he goes to Shatter Logoth, and he is so messed up already that Mashadar tries to kill him, and he goes, cute, you're mine now. And then, of course, he goes into the ways, and he's gets basically confronted with Machin Shin, and then he's like, cute, you're mine now. And you're just like, what the fuck, man?
So you remember all the times in any anime ever where somebody gets bullshit buffs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Fane.
Yeah, that's totally.
I mean, like, on his overall story is like definitely a fantasy cliche, but it's just done on the side of the villain side, where you are this puny, you're the Cinderella of the shadow, and oh, here's this thing that makes me not your little, play toy bitch. Oh, and here's this thing that gives me a pet that renders this entire area useless by the 3 people that I want to kill the most, especially this one fucker with the red hair. Oh, here's another power-up. Here's another power-up. Oh, I died? Yeah, no, it was just the end of the books, and Brandon Sanderson forgot that I was a character that needed an arc that needed to be resolved. I'm not saying that's
honestly,
what happened.
Okay, I will say at the end, I like that Brandon Sanderson ended him that way. But like you, I think that Padan Fane is an entity that is too much. But you also have, or you don't have to. Sorry, I say that sometimes. I don't mean that. But it is an interesting thought to think of. Shadar Logoth is gone. Machin Shin Mashadar is gone. Shadar Logoth has been eliminated, if you will, from the face of the earth. Again, I'm sure that Mashadar is still there. I mean, like, Padan Fane still has it, obviously. Other entities still have it, and of course, it was created out of humanity, and they're fucking evil in some ways. So it's not like it could never return. But Shadar Logoth is gone. In this, at the end, about the same time that Padan Fane is getting stabbed, his connection to the Dark One is gone in some ways, because the Dark One is fully sealed back in his prison. Presumably,
where did I find it?
The ways could be cleansed, though they don't specifically say so either. And so in some ways, like, Padan Fane's whole thing, his trinity of powers, are all kind of gone as far as their origins. Not the ones in him, but their origins are kind of gone. And so again, I am totally in agreement with you that Padan Fane is too much to just be killed with the dagger from Shadar Logoth. I think that he's still sort of around. Not in the way of a physical manifestation, but definitely still around. But it is interesting that, like, anything that he would want to feed off of is kind of gone.
Yeah, so, like, to that, as part of, like, the very little bit of pre-show, like, research and looking that I did, I came across where in the TR Questions of the Week, part 2, from January 25th of 2005, the question was asked that now that Shadar Logoth is gone, has the evil power in Padan Fane, more death / the Ruby Dagger decreased any, blah, 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 blah. And the answer was it has not decreased or increased.
Yeah.
So
I would agree with that.
It's one of the things.
But
like,
again,
it's not
it
like
is
the dagger and these kind of
interesting.
stuff. They're not necessarily like links back to Shadar Logoth that give the power. The taint seems to be equal in anything that leaves Shadar Logoth that doesn't like immediately decay away, like cloth and stuff like that. Things like stone and metal.
Yes, but that was what I was sort of saying, is that, again, everything that was present in Padan Fane is still there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also no seeming ability that he has to go get more, if you will. And so that's why I kind of like view Padan Fane at the end of the books as like Voldemort-esque, where, again, all of the evil and everything that's keeping him alive is still there. So he can't actually die. Again, I don't like the answer that he's dead. It doesn't feel right that he would just be gone. But I also could totally see his like physical form being gone. And also not having the ability to go back to the Dark One or to Shadar Logoth to get more power. Because those are also gone. but they're still present in him. That's why he's still not dead, because he's more than just a man.
More than death. Uh-oh. I think Daniel's internet froze.
So that was fun, dumb, and weird.
You're just taking over all of my old roles today.
Yeah, just somebody use the microwave. I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, fucking Elaine over there using the microwave, heating up her bathwater.
This motherfucker! Excellent.
Oh. Anyway, let me put this back over my ear. Let's get right back into the podcast. All right, so before internet cut out for you or whoever, whatever fucking happened. Anyway, there was a cut that just happened that makes no sense with what you're seeing now. Okay, I had to wait for you to move to make sure it didn't fuck up again. I figured out why it's never expressly in the books like proven that he was killed. Because time is a circle. Which means Mashadar comes back. Because Shadow Logos comes back.
Presumably, yeah.
He either slumbers for a fucking long time. Actually, maybe he's
for a long time.
Maybe he becomes the inspiration for the first stage movie, The Mist. I feel like this time, instead of like actually talking about the mental or madness aspects of Padan Fain, we just talked about Padan Fain, which pretty much is the mental like aspects. Like he's a man focused. He's a deranged individual that post Eye of the World, he's completely violent. He has no problem torturing Murdral, sacrificing humans to the Trollocs, all kinds of crazy stuff. Sets up traps he manipulated the shit out of Egwene as much as he possibly could in Faldara. It's so crazy. All he wants to do for the entirety of the end of Eye of the World and through the Great Hunt, and I think even into the Dragon Reborn, is just fight and kill Rand. And then, is it in the Dragon Reborn or the next book that he starts focusing on Perrin and the Two Rivers, or Amon's Field?
It's after. It's in the Shadow Rising. It's after the Dragon Reborn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he tells.
And even part of that is
Rand
like trying to hurt Rand by hurting Perrin.
On Toman Head in the Shadow Rising.
Is that Shadow Rising?
Or no, is that...
That's Great Hunt. Because that's
Great Hunt. Yeah.
Which is what blew my mind. Like, oh, you've already been told to meet him in Toman Head. So just fucking go to Toman Head.
Well, and he tries, but he fucks up with the Portal Stone. That's what happens.
Oh, yeah.
He fucks up the Portal Stone, and Fain is presumably waiting for him for a while, and then gets sick of waiting and leaves, while Rand is still flickering.
Fucking Rand. Playing with his Zippo.
Right? But yeah, Fain is a fascinating case to me, because again, I mean, I love the character, and I'm terrified of how they're going to use him in the show. Because he's just so nuts.
I want to have nightmares of Fain.
I want to have nightmares of Fain too. Like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And again, everything seems to be going that way. I think that they will do a good job. But fuck, the character of Padan Fain is just heavy and dense. And so we'll see.
We indeed shall see. But for this episode, it seems that our Sorvan Mahel was not quite able to make it back in time. Things happen, but he sends all of his love and thank yous. You may have noticed that there was no lead up to any of the plugs that'll be inserted in this episode, just because I forgot to do any of them. So the plug here is to go and check out all the things that the pre-recorded plugs were put in for, and go and look at all that stuff. Again, I like we still need to work on kind of trying to shorten those down. I want to get them down to at least a minute each, preferably less, because we know it's kind of annoying to listen to like 3 minutes of a plug. So we'll be working on shortening those down.
One every time, but
yeah. So we'll be working on that for those of you that may just be tired of the plugs.
Who are we going to do it for? For you.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah. We should just reach out to the people we're plugging and be like, hey, could you do a 30-second plug for your stuff? Let's reach out to the Black Tower and get them to do a 30-second plug for blacktowerpod.com, where you can find all of your Black Tower stuff, including our sponsors, our merch, and quick, easy links to everything except for the Great Blight, because we haven't made Josh add that yet, which we probably should, since they partner, since Nameless and team in at least one form or another partner with us.
All right, guys. Well, as we all know here at the Black Tower podcast, not everything that is touched by the shadow is lost. And that is totally true for thegreatblight.com. Now, Nameless and his team have done an amazing job of going ahead and putting this together, and it is possibly the greatest resource for those of us here in the Wheel of Time community. First off, you have this awesome homepage with posts from a bunch of your favorites. You can go and check out new things that you've never seen before, keep up to date on content creators that you already follow, and just go ahead and dip as many of your toes or your entire foot as you want into all of the different things that are going on. Now, also here, there is probably the best list of content creators. There's YouTubers, podcasters, artists, musicians, just about everything you could want. And if you don't see your favorite content creator there, that's fine. There is an application included in the site to go ahead and make sure that your favorite content creator is part of it. Just encourage them to fill out the application, and Nameless will be in touch. Now, after you've gone ahead and checked that out, you're going to want to pop over to the ever-expanding library here at the Great Blight, because it is something particularly special. Now, I don't know how many times I've gone ahead and joined a fandom only to find out halfway through my first read, looking up a character, that they die in the second to last book, which sucks. It always is very disappointing when you can't look up anything interesting about what you've read for fear of things that you haven't read yet. But they've fixed the problem over at thegreatblight.com. It is a spoiler-free wiki. That's right. That means that if you've only read up to Path of Daggers and you really want to find out what in the world you missed about Egwene because there's something you just don't understand, or if you want to get more information about Rand because you think he's super cool, you don't need to read past Path of Daggers, and it's not going to ruin you on a Memory of Light before you've gotten there. You'll know exactly where to stop. You'll know exactly where you are. And once you're done with that, make sure that you go ahead and help the site out, the content creators out, everything like that, with the beta nature of it. Up here at the top, you're going to see a problem, have a suggestion button. That is specifically for if you have any issues with the site or if you have any feedback. It's only something that we can make better with feedback and with help from the community. So come on down, check it out. Grab a couple of our videos or grab a couple of our podcasts, and we'd love to see you there.
Very easy partnership, which they all are, because they're all amazing partners and supporters and amazing merch shops. So this is going to do it for this episode of the Black Tower podcast. Let us know in the comments below on YouTube and the comments on Podbean or wherever you're listening to us. Hopefully we'll get a notification if it's not Podbean or YouTube or Twitter. If you do comment something and you want to hear what we have to say about the comment and you don't hear from us, make sure you can send us an email at blacktowerpod@gmail.com. You can also tweet at us.
Our podcast. That's probably the two best ways to get a hold of us, because we definitely check those daily.
Yeah. And if you would like to, you can also take and find a link to our Discord, both in the description below or the show notes, depending if you listen to podcast or YouTube. And you can always post it there. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You'll get to talk to a lot of amazing people.
And also me.
I just saw the other day we are at 200 plus members on the Discord.
Awesome.
So that's fantastic. Come over and join the Discord where you can have all kinds of chats about all kinds of things, and predominantly the Wheel of Time, but we talk about a whole bunch of random bullshit. If you want to listen live and see all the stuff that we laugh at during the live recordings and how many times Marshadi corrects us on how the 1,001 things that we get wrong, or the insightful input that all of our Patreon live listeners give us, consider heading over to our Patreon and supporting us. And there's some pretty cool benefits there, including some stickers, some coins, some merch type stuff that you can go and find. It's all pretty dope. But
Make me send them out. Make me send out more coins. I will be happy to do so.
Oh,
it's super fun. Definitely get them. They're super awesome. And also drinking games.
Oh, yeah.
When we actually get together, part of the whole point of those is to take the place of pins, but also drinking games.
Everybody loves merchandise, and one of the best possible places to go and get yourself some really dope Wheel of Time inspired and themed merchandise is, of course, newcreationsbyjen.com. So whenever you go to newcreationsbyjen.com, whether you're looking for just Wheel of Time inspired stuff or not, you can find all kinds of really cool merchandise and goodie opportunities, all the way from gifts for your family, friends, significant others, whoever have you, newborns, children, toddlers, women, men, adults, anybody that wants anything, you can find something for them for sure on New Creations by Jen. Now, most of you listening are going to be looking for Wheel of Time stuff. And the easiest way to find it is to go to the catalog section on New Creations by Jen, where you can see the groups of stuff for us at Black Tower Podcasts, Malkir Talks, Talk Around Riyadh, Will Reads, The Will Weaves, and Weekly Will News. So you can find all of this stuff, and you can browse and look at all the different kinds of things that each content creator that is a part of New Creations by Jen's has taken and asked Jen and Rob to put up on the site. Obviously, we're going to use ours as an example so that you can go in and look at Black Tower Podcast stuff, because we are the Black Tower Podcast. So if you go on, you can get our Two Rivers Sniper shot glass as well as Two Rivers Sniper shirt. It's available on a red shirt. So you can go on and you can get our Frosty mug, which is one of the Frosty mug collectibles. Each Wheel of Time content creator that is on New Creations by Jen has a Frosty mug that you can go in and get for yourself. So after you get ours, make sure you get the others and get the entire set and join the Frosty Mug Society. Of course, there's more than just Frosty mugs and little shot glasses, and there's plenty of different kinds of shirts with different designs on them from all of the different content creators. Of course, you can find ours where you can get our logo in black and white on a shirt. I have one myself. It's fantastic and I love it. Jen and Rob do an amazing job of working with not only their customers, but the content creators that they help support with this amazing and very good quality merchandise. So if you have not head over to New Creations by Jen and gotten yourself something dope, make sure you go and do that. Again, it's newcreationsbyjen.com.
That's going to do it for this episode. We love you all. We thank you so much for listening and supporting us with listening, with viewing, with clicking. If you're not already subscribed to us on YouTube, please do subscribe. If you want to get notifications whenever our new episodes and videos come out on YouTube, click the notification bell and turn that on, and comment down below whatever you want within reason. Thoughts about the episode, thoughts for new episodes, feedback on how we're doing the podcast, all that kind of stuff. Hey, Andrew, you don't look at the camera
2012.
enough. Comment it. Yeah. What? You say Ron Paul?
First,
What?
Ron Paul 2012.
Jesus Christ. But again, thank you all so much for listening. For those of us here at the Black Tower Podcast, I have been your Bajan Mahal, Andrew.
I have been your Soravan Mahale, Josh, here in spirit, and also driving home, because I have errands to run, and I'm a butthole.
Hadn't used the Pornhub sound in a while. I felt it was
And
time.
I have been your Amin Khan Mahale. Actually, yeah. Honorary mention our fact checker Mahale, who will be moving from Utah to Washington soon. So hopefully he will still be able to fact check us. In fact, it'll give you actually it'll be an hour earlier. I was gonna say it'll give you a whole extra hour, but it's an hour earlier. Fuck. We'll see whether that works out for you.
A whole hour earlier to fuck?
Right? A whole hour earlier to fuck. That's 100% what I... Play it again?
Play it again?
There you go. A whole hour earlier to fuck. But yes, from all of us here at the Black Tower Podcast, we hope that you have had a good time tonight. We hope that you have a good time all the time. And hope that you are listening to this and that it is giving you some joy. And in case we don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
In the tower, you can bring your pain. In the tower, you can feel the strain. You've been having so much trouble just fitting